Jixie here. I'm trying out a new camera on my computer at the moment, so I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. What I wanted to talk to you about today is, it's not something about books, it's not something about fairies, it's not something about, it's not obsession related. It's about my diagnosis, my recent diagnosis with autism and ADHD, and why I sought that out, why I sought out that diagnosis, because I've read a lot of things recently about people who are going through this, and I figured that maybe if my story could help somebody. And so I've just kind of decided to do this, and I want to do a bit of backstory about kind of my life and what led me to this, to deciding that I wanted to pursue this diagnosis. So obviously, you know, I'm partially sighted as well. And when I went to a school when I was 4 years old for blind and partially sighted people, and that was the first time that I really kind of started to feel like I was different. I would have meltdowns constantly at school, and it could be something as simple as like my ponytail was too loose or too tight, or I couldn't find something, or like just little things, stupid things that I would have meltdowns about. But I you know, obviously I had friends. It's different when, you know, with sighted people, it's different than like with partially sighted or with blind people, because with blind people or partially sighted people, to make friends, like you're walking about, you smack into somebody, and then it's like, ow, that hurt. Oh, sorry, did I hurt you? We'll get talking and let's be friends, kind of thing. Whereas when I'm trying to make friends with people who are sighted, it's more of a thing like where they're speaking a whole other language, and I'm kind of like, what the hell are you trying to say to me? And the more that they try and explain what it is they're saying in this language, the more frustrated I'm getting. So I had friends back then. Until I left that school. I was there until I was about 9, I think. But that school was about half an hour away from my house, and I didn't really have any local friends. My brother was constantly going to parties of people that he knew in school, and all of my friends lived about half an hour away, even more sometimes. And so I didn't go to parties. I didn't really have friends that were near me at the weekend. I just didn't. So I left that school and went to a school nearby, and that's kind of when things started to get weird, because when I first started there, they had an assembly. Just before I started, they had an assembly that was just about me. The basis of this assembly, I was told about this afterwards, but the basis of this assembly was, Amy is partially sighted, she's extremely fragile, please don't run into her. And the upshot of that was that I was treated like a bit of a bright, shiny new toy, and I would spend the bulk of the earlier lunch times and break times being surrounded by throngs of people who were kind of like, ooh, this bright, shiny new thing. And I was literally in the centre of everybody. But then once that subsided, I only had 1 or 2 friends that I was extremely close with. One of them being called Kim and one of them being called Kira. And I know them on Facebook, so shout out. And so I only really had 2 friends that I recall. And everything was fine, you know. There was a few issues, which I'm not really going to go into. There were stupid issues, but in high school, I started to. It was kind of painfully obvious that I wasn't the same as everybody else. I was still playing with Barbie dolls, and they were hanging outside the McDonald's, hitching up the skirts and trying to make eyes at the boys. And I just didn't do that. I was too busy listening to my Disney on tape, because, you know, it was all on tape back then, because I'm stupidly old. You know, I was, you know, watching Disney videos, you know, like The Sword and the Stone and Cinderella and all that stuff, and they were too busy listening to like Hanson and Westlife and crushing after Aaron Carter. I was a child of the late 90s and early noughties, so yeah, that's what we did. Britney Spears and Westlife and Take That and all that stuff. Anyway, but I didn't really do that. I was much happier going on picnics with my Barbies and my teddies, and I had a huge teddy collection. So I wasn't really treated as one with everybody else. I wasn't really treated like I was equal. And then I went to college, and that was a school for partially sighted. It was a college for partially sighted and blind people, and I was again ridiculously popular. But from then on, I kind of had periods where I had friends, and they kind of rolled their eyes at my more immature sort of traits, or like, oh, Jixie's playing with Barbies again. Or they would I would go through periods where I didn't have any friends at all, and I was stupidly depressed. I lived in a studio apartment. I didn't go out. I slept all day. I was up all night. I didn't have anyone to talk to. My apartment was a mess because I didn't have the energy to clean it. I was depressed. So I went and had and there was gaps in that where I didn't even talk to my family because they still can't really to this day deal with my meltdowns and my more autistic traits. They can't deal with that really. So there was periods of time when I didn't speak to my family. So I was just kind of alone really. And so flash forward about 10 years, and then sort of this word, autism, slowly kind of began to emerge into my consciousness. And I researched it just, because I was curious, as you do. And slowly decided this was a bit like, hang on a second, this sounds like me. And I pursued it. Even though my mum was a bit like, no, it's a label, I don't want you to be labelled with it, I don't think it's a good idea. And I was like, screw labels, if I can find out why it is that I'm such a massive freak. And I had like zero confidence, guys. I would literally sit there being like, you are a fat, ugly nobody that nobody likes, nobody loves you, nobody likes you, nobody wants to be around you, you scare away your family, you don't have any friends. And I would say these horrible things to myself. And then when I finally sort of thought, hang on, maybe I'm autistic, I was like, well, maybe there's a reason why it is that I'm, why I am all of these things, maybe there's a reason why I don't have any friends, maybe there's a reason why I still play with Barbie dolls at 28 years old or whatever. And so I pursued it. Finally got this diagnosis, and it fell in the time when I decided to go and get my degree for the second time. I tried the first time and I got my diploma, and I didn't really go the full way because university was extremely hard, and not just with being partially sighted, obviously, because of like autism, and I didn't even realise that was the thing, that I didn't realise that was what was holding me back even more. So anyway, I decided to go and do it a second time. My confidence was a little higher. My mum kind of pushed me into it a bit, sort of like, well, what are you doing with your life, Jix? You're just going to sit around and sleep all day and be awake all night and not have any friends and play with your Barbie dolls, and is that what you're going to do with your entire life? So anyway, I kind of decided to try again at doing the whole degree thing, and the diagnosis kind of fell in line with this. So there was this huge upheaval of change in my life at this time, and the upshot of this diagnosis has been, I recently hooked up with someone that I knew back in college, and he said that just compared to how I was back in college and the self-esteem issues that I had, and now that I've become so much more confident. I don't say the horrible things that I used to say to myself anymore. I occasionally go through days where I'm like, you are so fat, but nowhere near to the same degree as I used to do. I don't sort of, now obviously I'm writing a book when I don't procrastinate. ADHD is fun. I'm writing a book now. I have 2 adorable, amazing dogs who I just adore the bones of. I have my own house now. I do have a YouTube channel. You know, I'm here sharing my story. You know, my confidence has skyrocketed, and it's all because now I finally know when I have a meltdown and my family's like, this isn't on, you're not 5 years old anymore, you can't have meltdowns anymore. I'm like, well, actually, hang on a second. Maybe that would be the case if I had a normal brain, but I don't have a brain like yours. So, you know, shut up, basically. You know, like, I won't sort of... My family has often been like, you know, you can't have meltdowns, you know, you have to stop behaving like a 5-year-old. And I'm like, I'm autistic. I have ADHD. People with ADHD and autism sometimes have meltdowns. I can't help it. But I used to, before this diagnosis, and I'm actually starting to feel quite teary even thinking about it, but my family would sort of say things like, you're traumatizing people because you're having meltdowns and they don't understand why you're having meltdowns, so you need to stop. And I would feel horrible. I would feel awful because I was like, what's wrong with me? Why am I having meltdowns and traumatizing people and people don't understand and I don't understand, and I'd just get really like depressed and be horrible to myself, whereas now I'm just like, okay, send them in and I'll explain why I have meltdowns. You know, I'm so much more accepting of myself. I'm so much more loving of myself. And it really has made so much of a change for the better in my life. I really think if you're thinking about going through this process, if you're anything like me, you will have such a change in your life. You will start to actually sort of look in the mirror and actually be proud of who you are. Rather than just look in the mirror and think, who the hell are you? They're staring back at me. Please, can I be anyone else but me? I mean, literally, I will like throw a dice and literally be anybody else because I really, really detest myself. You know, it's so lovely to be able to actually sort of, you know, have the ambition and the courage to write a book and to understand that you have something to say. You know, I actually have something I can actually say. You know, I can sit here and talk to you guys and know that there is something that you guys want to hear. And my confidence is still not amazing. You know, there are times when I sort of think, am I really going to sit here and tell these guys that? And do they really actually give a shit? Especially when I went through a bit when I was losing followers on Twitter, and thankfully that's back up again. And I'm so happy that you guys have started following me. I'm so grateful. So there are times when my confidence is still not amazing, but you guys are helping me with that every day. You know, I don't. You know, I used to think that if you guys were not commenting that it meant you guys hate me, but the fact that you guys are watching my videos, the fact that I've got like 25 subscribers, you know, means that you guys actually like what I do and want to see it, like what I do constantly, and that means so much to me. But that is more important, not more important, but it's what is really made a change in my life, and my confidence has been getting this diagnosis. So I really can't recommend it enough to any of you who are planning on going through this diagnosis. It's a long process, and for me it's not even done yet. Like, I have in a matter of weeks, I've got another appointment with the doc, and they're going to prescribe me medication for my ADHD, which hopefully will do something. It's still not over. The process has still not been over, but just even starting it and then saying, yeah, you've got ADHD and autism, has allowed me to understand myself so much better and to accept myself and to stand up to my family and say, I cannot help it. You think I can, but I can't. And no amount of you saying that you think I should be able to help it, or saying that I'm not trying hard enough to cure myself, you know, like, I can stand up to them and sort of say, there's no cure. I have autism and ADHD. It's not a sickness. It's a difference in the brain. And, you know, it's just kind of, it's really helped me. That I'm hoping that you guys have a family that's more supportive than that. But you know, for me, it's changed my life so much. So I'm not going to continue blogging and I'm going to sign off. And hopefully you will see a video with me and Katie very soon. I have one to show you, in fact. It's a 7-second challenge, or 10-second challenge, or some sort of challenge. It's a challenge, which will be coming soon. But I really wanted to show you this because I really think it's important to not just show you the fairy things and the cute things and the fairy spells and the uniforms and the tutus and the crazy kitten ears and everything, but to show you also more of who I am, so you can understand what's going on behind the fairy wings a little bit. And I will also, if you follow me on Twitter and if you follow me on Instagram, you will see pictures of my puppy dog, my new puppy dog, my little Coco, who is a Chihuahua and who is my pride and joy. And of course you will also see pictures of my Chloe, who again is my pride and joy. And you will see weird random things, like today I spent the morning doing a pig and duck cartoon thing. And you will just see the weirdest things if you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Jixie Di. No, Twitter I am Princess AMIH. Princess_AMIH. Just put Jixie in. Just put Jixie in. It's just, yeah. And you'll also get snippets and things to do with my books. So I'm going to go and say peace. And I love you guys. And thank you for helping me to be more confident. And for listening to me blab and blub. And, yes. Peace. Wait, hang on. I have to switch this video off now. Yeah. Peace again.